State Director of Computer Science and Chief State STEM Officer for the Arkansas Department of Education. And I have the pleasure of introducing our noontime keynote. But before I do that, I do want to remind everyone that the ADE STEM unit, along with many of our partners, including Project Lead the Way, who Ms. Robin Scott will talk to you about today, we do have a STEM playground going on currently down in Hall A. We'll be running it today and tomorrow. We have great activities, everything from K8 codable tools to MTA certifications that are free for teachers to take, and we have about 20 different certifications. So please come by and see us. We're also giving away a few door prizes here and there, so sign up for a door prize. That said, I want to introduce our lunchtime speaker because you're here to see her, not me. And as I said, I have the honor to introduce Ms. Robin Scott, who is the Vice President of Engagement of the West Central Region of Project Lead the Way. Those of y'all who don't know, Project Lead the Way is a great partner to our state. We have a lot of schools, including my alma mater, Star City, which is a big Project Lead the Way school here in Arkansas and doing great things for the students. But Robin and her team serve a 12-state region as they work with over 600 districts, 2,500 schools. PLTW currently serves over 11,500 schools across the U.S. offering their programs. And the organization has trained thousands of teachers. Before joining PLTW, Ms. Scott spent 20 years in education as a science teacher and district instructional leader. She served Oklahoma as the Associate State Director for Career and Technology Education. She also served on the Oklahoma Science and Technology Council. Ms. Scott holds an MS degree from the University of Central Oklahoma and a BS degree from Oklahoma State University. Robin, welcome to Arkansas. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you. Well, I'm excited to be here today. We work with an incredible network of schools here in Arkansas and just excited about the focus that you all have on STEM education and computer science. It's extremely exciting. So I want to start the presentation today with sort of the end in mind. So when Anthony had given us the charge to do this session, he wanted us to really talk about what happens for our students. And so I want to get to that as we go through the programs that Project Lead the Way offers. But I also wanted to sort of set the stage with just this picture of students. These are students from our biomedical science program, and I think they really depict what our end game is and what we hope to do. So our goal is to really give every student through the skill scaffolding that we do from now pre-K all the way through 12, to give them the really transportable skills that will make them hireable no matter what industry sector they decide to tackle. So transportable skills are extremely important for us. And the other piece that we really focus on is how do we connect students in the educational process to future careers. So we want them to really think about the preparation that they're doing as they transition through our courses and their academic courses. Think about what the end game is and what kind of career that they want to have. So those are our two focus areas. As we think about what we try to do in the classroom, we call it transformational learning because we really we do an intensive training piece with each of our teachers. And our goal is that those teachers really empower students. We want students to be engaged, we want them to be empowered, and we want them to be inspired to really think about what can happen if they do the right preparation through these courses. So I really intentionally picked the pictures on this slide. The engagement picture is a picture from one of our 5th grade classrooms. These students are doing an automation and robotics unit. They are, as you can see, very engaged in the learning process. They've done multiple activities and projects leading up to this open-ended problem, and they're actually running their autonomous robots in that picture. So they're very engaged. On the Empower slide, this is actually a young lady who is in our bioscience program. You can see that she's using some techniques and skills that she's learned through the courses. But the comment that she made as we visited with her was very eye-opening. She said that she had had type 1 diabetes for a long time. She thought she knew everything about diabetes until she took her first bioscience class as a freshman. So that helped me know that we were really giving them the kinds of information to empower them and really inspire them on. And then that final picture is a group of Lockheed Martin new career. They've just signed for a a position with Lockheed Martin, and they started that process as high school seniors. So in Texas, Lockheed Martin's working with 4 of the large districts in the Fort Worth area. They actually choose interns based on the course patterns that they've taken, so students that have taken Project Lead the Way. Students spend an entire senior year there, up to 6 hours a week, and the guarantee from Lockheed Martin is that those students are invited back for summer internships, and they're invited back to be engineers on the floor at Lockheed Martin once they complete their degree. So we only had 5 students in the very first cohort. This fall we'll have 60 students in those internships there. But these students have actually completed their degree and are back to take those positions. So hopefully inspiring them by some of the extra activities and events and opportunities that we have through our corporate partners. Students really understand that they apply the learning. So I'll talk a little bit more about the Lockheed Martin internships in just a second. So we do this work through a group of national partners. So not only our large group of network of schools, but different stakeholders that are really vested in this work. So I just threw a few logos up on this slide, but I wanted you to see sort of the vast number of partners that are really working with us across the country. All of them are doing different things, but all of them have one thing in mind. They all need STEM talent, and that's why they're invested in this work. So for instance, Chevron and John Deere are funding schools for us to start programs, and they do it within a 60-mile, 70-mile radius of their facilities. So they're doing it for their employees and really to develop local talent. Lockheed Martin, I talked a little bit about the work they're doing, but they've also done large investment, and they've done it in 6 cities across the country, and their idea was to take a large district and really go end to end with a STEM initiative. So Orlando, Fort Worth, Denver, Washington, D.C. are some of those cities where they've done that investment. Verizon did something very different with us. So they wanted to impact middle schools across the country. They wanted to really target those middle schools that were in most need, so free and reduced lunch. They had a certain threshold there, but any school that wanted to start computer science at the middle school, that's what they wanted to fund. So we funded with them the last 3 years, and we've done tons of schools across the country, really getting them focused on middle school science. So there are a lot of other logos on this slide. They've all done different types of investments. I want to talk about Toyota in a little detail in just a second, and I want to show you a slide, but they're a really vested partner as well. So if we think about Arkansas, how does that transition to Arkansas? So I just pulled down a few of your industry sectors, but aerospace defense, software development, data management, distribution and logistics, advanced manufacturing. All of those industry sectors are sectors that we've worked with that we know need STEM talent, and I know that you guys have heard the same thing from your local companies. So across the bottom, I've listed some of your companies. I know an exciting announcement from Lockheed Martin and their expansion in Camden, but these guys are going to need talent, and I think that's why we're so invested in this work and why you guys have to help. Really, we don't have any students to waste. There's such a need for talent, and we can do it right here locally as we partner to do this work. So we've recently done, I want to talk a little bit about the transportable skills, and I mentioned it on an earlier slide, but we partnered with Burning Glass, and they're an analytical software company. They have tremendous amount of data around workforce. They analyze tons and tons of job descriptions as companies post those job descriptions. And so we wanted them to really dig in and tell us what were the skills most asked for. We felt like we had the list, and we felt like we knew what some of those were, but we wanted them to validate that work. So we gave them a list of 5 different skills, and they analyzed lots and lots of workforce data, and what we thought panned out. So the great thing is that these transportable skills outpace any other skill set as far as needs across different industry sectors. The industry and the career area didn't matter. These skills still showed up on all of those job descriptions. The other piece that was really fascinating, I think, is that it didn't matter if it was an entry-level job or if it was a professional level, mid-career job. All different job descriptions across that spectrum had these skills embedded in the job description. So we know that a student can combine these technical skills and these transportable skills, make them extremely hireable and in demand. So that's our goal. And we actually changed our entire assessment platform for this year, and I'll talk a little bit about it. But I wanted to tell you what those 5 skills were. So problem solving, critical and creative thinking, collaboration, communication, ethical reasoning, and mindset. So those are the skills that we are calling the transportable skills. They're skills that we feel like we start working with students in pre-K and kindergarten and help them scaffold those skills the entire way through a K-12 pathway. So our new assessment platform, for years at the high school level, we've done an end-of-course assessment, and that assessment has assessed content knowledge. So if I'm an Introduction to Engineering Design course, the assessment was content knowledge around engineering design and the process. This year, for the first time, we're able to tease out these five skill areas. So if I'm a freshman taking IED, and will have a score for problem solving, the way I creatively think and critically problem solve, collaboration, communication, ethical reasoning. So embedded in the scenario-based assessment. The really cool thing is that if I'm a student then and I transition through multiple classes in a Project Lead the Way pathway, that score grows as I develop skill sets. So students are able to share those scores with corporate partners. They're able to share those scores with community and universities, community colleges and universities. So we're excited about that aspect, and we're just norming our set of data this year, but really excited about the results to date. So we have copies of that study. We're actually in the STEM playground as well, and we have copies of that study if anybody's interested in that piece. So how do we do this work? How do we scaffold these skills throughout? And the model that we use, no matter preschool through 12th grade, is actually an APB model. So activities, projects, problems. Every one of our units is written that way. Our PD is built around helping teachers understand that they're facilitators in the classroom and they're facilitating these pieces, but really by the time we get to the problem level in each of the units, it's very open-ended, multiple right answers. We're excited about students having that freedom of creativity. But I will tell you, it's the piece that sort of challenges those high-performing academic students the most. Most of them want one right answer and they want to know how to get there, but it's a piece where we feel like we really have the ability to help develop that whole growth mindset and help students working through those projects. So in the activity phase, we're really trying to teach them certain knowledge and skills and help them master those skill sets. When they get to the project phase, it's really that they start to connect meaning to the actual content, and they begin to investigate what might happen. And then by the time they get to an open-ended problem, as I mentioned, very open-ended, they get parameters, they get criteria for their work, but it's really the application and the transfer of that knowledge. So they're using knowledge out of context, and students do amazing, amazing things. I have a school not far from my house. I actually live in Oklahoma, but I have a school not too far from my house, and as a high school engineering program, I think they have 11 current patents, and those patents were secured by high school students. So kids are doing exciting, exciting things.
Robin, do you let them know what the problem is before they go into the activities?
Good question. I know in our launch piece, we do set that up, so they know in problem as they work through. But good question. And they always have access to that piece. So I'm sure that instructors do set that up so that they do know it.
Can I add to that, Robin?
Yes. Hey, Jenny. You know the answer, right?
Well, I just know that I've been out of Project Lead the Way for a year now, but the way the curriculum has always been set up, they just knew that they went through the activities and there would be a reason later. I never did tell them the problem. Now, they could look ahead.
Yeah.
But they rarely did because they were too busy. So they knew that it would be significant. Everything
Good. No, great addition, Jenny. And Jenny was one of our teachers. I think she trained in 4 or 5 courses at the engineering pathway, 5. But skills they learn as freshmen in Introduction to Engineering Design, they're going to use that entire design process in EDD, which is our capstone course, where they actually get to pick the problem but they're using the skill sets to develop the solution. So building each year. So this is a pretty good visual. This is really from our computer science pathway, but it gives you a visual of how we scaffold the skill sets. So we just launched preschool this year, but we've had launched a K-5 content area for several years, and it's been incredible. And I know that I sort of had misgivings about, okay, what is this going to look like for elementary schools? And visiting a school that very first pilot year, I was talking to a 2nd grade student, and he was intently working on his project. And I kept asking questions, and I could tell he was sort of irritated that I asked those questions because he was so intent in working on it. But finally, I just said, so what are you going to do if this doesn't work? And he was a 2nd grader, and he kind of rolled his eyes, and he looked at me, and he said, this is my 2nd iteration. And I thought, okay, first of all, he knows the vocabulary he's supposed to be using. He understands that it's an iterative process and that it's okay if he fails the first time. So I feel like as students progress through this, through our launch program, our gateway program, and then our high school pathways, that they really develop that fortitude and scaffold those skill sets. So for those of you that don't know, we actually have 3 pathways, and these pathways, again, start elementary to high school. We have biomedical science, computer science, and engineering. I want to sort of walk you through these. So this is a course list of engineering, and it's definitely our most robust pathway. Project Lead the Way started about 20 years ago, and we actually started at the high school engineering level, and it was based on a local need from a local industry and a skill set that they didn't see from their students coming out of the high school. Very grassroots effort, and now 20 years later, we've totally grown these 3 pathways, and we're in every state across the country. So the high school content has totally evolved, but some basic courses that really give our students the foundation, Introduction to Engineering Design, Principles of Engineering, and a brand new course, Engineering Essentials. And that course was really designed because we still aren't satisfied with the number of underrepresented and female students that are taking the engineering pathway. I think there's tons of things that kind of factor into that, but for some reason girls shy away from the content. So this course was really designed with some projects and problems that we feel like they'll really invest in and understand how they can give back. And that's the piece that we've heard from female students, that they really, why they really want to be engineers. So we're excited about that brand new course. And then we have certain specialty courses, and a lot of the time schools will pick these specialty courses based on local engineering or industry sectors and what students need to get great local jobs. So we have an aerospace course, we have a civil engineering course. The computer integrated manufacturing course is a strong mechanical engineering course. They can actually badge in that course, and it's recognized by a national manufacturing group. A digital electronics, environmental sustainability, and then our capstone course. And the capstone course is really an open-ended course that seniors take. They pick the problem that they want to solve, and it's really helping them understand how to do project and process management and work through that entire project. So they'll prototype a solution, they'll often present that solution. It's an incredible process. And then you can see the units that we have at the middle school. Those are very flexible units, so schools can pick any of those units. They're often taught in 9-week segments or a semester, and schools often let students rotate through multiple courses. So just talking a little bit about some Arkansas students. So I know that many of you are probably aware of this, but the BB Junior High kiddos who won the Samsung Solve for Tomorrow, it was a problem that they wanted to solve, and it was an infant seat carrier that would actually weight and temperature would trigger an alarm if an infant was left in a car and it started to heat up. So those guys went on to compete at the national level, and I think we're one of the top projects there. But it's amazing what can happen with students once you empower them and once they're inspired to really solve problems, what they can do. So I wanted to share some actual examples. Jacob Kinsey was actually a student in Fayetteville. He got into the Gateway program and the engineering program. I actually met Jacob last summer, and I was at Cerner in Kansas City. So they're a large software company. They develop software for hospitals and healthcare systems across the globe. They, at one point, needed 11,000 programmers. That's what their goal was, to hire. So a very aggressive, robust company. But I met Jacob there. He was doing an internship from the University of Arkansas, where he was getting his computer science degree. And I just heard from Jacob this in June, and he actually started as a software engineer at Cerner. So his mom had, I know his instructor who taught his high school course, and she said, you know, it really helped him come out of his shell. He really found something he was interested in and passionate about, and then was able to pursue that field. So a great Arkansas story. And then I wanted to delve in a little bit more with the Lockheed Martin intern piece. So Lockheed Martin has a huge facility in Fort Worth where they make planes. It's a very secure system. And they really felt like about 8 years ago that they were competing hard with the energy sector, and it was hard for them to recruit engineers. And they had had a traditional college internship program for a long time. But they came to us and we sat around a table and they said, we've got to start earlier with these kids. We've got to get them in here and they've got to understand the excitement of the aerospace industry. So they had their HR there, they had all their engineering people there, different teams, and they developed a way to get high school interns in as seniors. So those seniors applied as juniors for this opportunity. It was extremely competitive. And I mentioned that we started with 5 or 6 students that very first year. But those kids were placed on a team. I just saw the seniors give their sort of end of internship presentation a few weeks ago in Fort Worth, and I was blown away. 4 of those students were first-generation high school graduates. Every one of those 40 students had enrolled in a college engineering, physics, or computer science program. It was amazing. So Trinity Stallings, we actually have a whole series of podcasts on our website, and it's really interviews with stakeholders, different stakeholders, from teachers to students to our partners. But this one is really specific about Lockheed. So I know that you guys have a great Lockheed facility, and we've talked to them a little bit about student opportunities. But Trinity was a senior at Martin High School in Arlington ISD. She did an incredible internship and worked on an engineering team, and she now has a full ride to MIT, and she is leaving there in just a few weeks. So Emily Hendrickson, who is also interviewed on the podcast, is the person at Lockheed that manages the project. And as I mentioned, next year they've already identified 60 students, and they're expanding the districts that they're working with. But the criteria is that students have to have had not only advanced math and science and computer science courses, but our Project Lead the Way courses as well. So it's working extremely well. But what dawned on me as I was sitting there is just how Lockheed Martin has changed the whole recruitment process for their company. So these kids come in as freshmen, they notice things, as seniors in high school, they said things during their presentation like, especially the female students, I was surprised there weren't more girls working here. They were amazed at the community outreach and community service that Lockheed did for the community. And then, of course, they were all jazzed about the incredible planes that they were able to work on. So not only were they excited about the industry and being a part of aerospace, but they totally knew the culture of Lockheed Martin. So those kids are going off to college. They're guaranteed a summer internship each year with Lockheed. And the minute they get that degree, they sign an opportunity to go to work for them. So it's an incredible model, and we'd love to grow it. So Lockheed is growing it across the country, but we'd love to work with other companies to do similar work. So this is the Toyota model. So I apologize, this is a very complicated diagram, but Toyota came to us about 10 years ago, and they said, we've been studying, we're a global company, we're on every continent. We've been looking for an engineering piece that we could put with high schools because we aren't getting the talent that we need. And they talked about having, in the past, gone to career fairs and being able to hire folks, and they could put them on the floor and they'd be successful. They were down to about a 50% retention rate once they brought new hires in and they went through training to be successful to work in the program. So they had found our content, they came and talked to us, and they said, we really want to try cohorts of your students. We want to bring them in the minute they graduate high school. We will pay for their associate's degree. They'll do it on site at Toyota. This was the Georgetown facility, so this was their largest facility in the U.S. We'll pay, they'll earn a salary for working 3 days a week. They'll go to school 2 days a week, and they'll be debt-free when they graduate, and we'll, offer them a job. So first group of cohort students, 100% of those kids were successful in their training program. So they've now really expanded this whole piece, and they're not only recruiting these seniors, but they're actually helping schools that are within a driving range of their facility put the program in. So they see it as a real pipeline. And their model has really evolved. So at the bottom, you see the little square that says K-12 Project Lead the Way. They're funding elementary schools to put in launch because they understand the value of students starting to build these skills and scaffold skills throughout the pathway. So they're growing this across the country. I think that Arkansas actually has a FAME chapter in the southwestern part of Arkansas, I believe. So they're training other manufacturing groups in how to do this work, and we're very excited about it. So again, FAME is, you can look up FAME, and it will give you details about the program, or I'm happy to share this. But what I love about the model, so students come in and they do that training and they get an associate's degree. You can see the 3 pathways where students can transition, and Toyota's still supporting their education as they go through this model. So students can still pursue engineering. In Kentucky, where this first group of students went through, their AMT program transitioned to the engineering program without losing a beat. So those kids had 2 more years and they had an engineering degree. They can also do a business pathway where students are doing Lean, Six Sigma, process improvement pieces, and they can get a business degree as well. And then they have an advanced technician piece that they take them through. So multiple career ladders for them, and all starting in high school. Students are debt-free as they work through the educational piece, and it's just an incredible, incredible model. So a little bit about computer science. Arkansas is definitely leading the charge when it comes to computer science, and your governor has really raised the level of awareness for many of our states, and we're very thankful for that. We started out with doing computer science principles, the one course, because we felt like our engineering students really needed a computer science option, and it quickly spread to really an entire pathway. So we're excited about the work going on. We have a brand new cybersecurity course that we have piloted, and now we've opened it up to any school across the country. AWS is hosting our cyber range, so just really excited about the opportunities with computer science. The Computer Science for Innovators and Makers is really a hands-on course. It's really computational thinking, but also just the programming actual pieces to make things work. And then App Creators is definitely an app creation course. And then we have a unit at each grade level in elementary, which starts with pre-K and goes all the way through 5th grade. So that's our computer science module. One thing I wanted to mention, I know you guys can't read these, but we can get you copies of them. So every high school course a student completes in Project Lead the Way, they have a very detailed course resume. So I've heard students have shared that they use these resumes to not only get entry-level jobs or internship opportunities, but they use them to write their college essays as well and to put in their college applications. So I just wanted to make everyone aware that we have those resumes. It's for bioscience, computer science, or engineering, and it's for every one of the high school courses. But an incredible amount of skills that students develop as they progress through the 4 courses. So Russellville is one of the first schools to really do elementary through all 4 of our courses, so we're excited about their piece. I actually snapped this picture when they were doing a showcase event and had students there, and we have other schools that are definitely working on the computer science piece with us as well. So I want to just talk a little bit about the final pathway. So the bioscience pathway, I was actually associate state director for CTE in Oklahoma when this pathway was developed, and we were one of the states that invested with Project Lead the Way to get them to do this. And what we found is that we had robust allied health programs traditionally in CTE, and they were doing really well. but we weren't getting enough kiddos into med school or really thinking about those professional level health degrees. So we wanted something different to really inspire those students. So we worked with Project Lead the Way. There were 8 states, Maryland, Indiana, Missouri, Oklahoma, can't remember the other 2, maybe South Carolina. Anyway, we invested in the development of the 4 high school courses. And the goal was we wanted students to be able to not only have incredible technical lab skills, but to be able to research, to do all those things and expose them to multiple careers. So those courses were developed over time. So the first one is really introducing them to the whole gamut of bioscience careers and really starting them down those technical skill training pieces in the lab. Human body systems is much like anatomy and physiology, but it's really thinking about the body as in terms of whole systems. So a little bit different approach. Medical interventions is probably my favorite course. I'm an old biology teacher, and it's really small scale biology. It's really leading edge things that I didn't do till grad school. These kids are actually doing in the lab. And then the final is a capstone course where students actually get to pick the research that they want to do, and it's pretty intense. So I have a couple of pictures, but I just wanted you to see the level of engagement. So these students are doing amazing labs. Every unit has intense lab skill development, and students are using amazing equipment to do this work. But they're doing really sophisticated research. I snapped this picture just a few weeks ago at a senior poster night where students were sharing their research. And it was at a university, and some of the university professors were just so vocal and impressed with what the students were doing, and couldn't wait to recruit. So it was a good piece for them, but very detailed research. I just wanted to mention Star City. So Star City is a school that we've really highlighted on our national summits. And that's where Jenny taught. So that first team did an incredible job in a very small rural school. And I wanted everyone to realize that this model works whether you're a large suburban school like Russellville or you're a small rural school, but they did all five of our programs very early on and really embraced it. And they were recognized as one of our distinguished districts recently, the only one in Arkansas. So I wanted to give them a shout out for sure. Yes. Uh-huh.
And so I was curious if there is any component of the program to help with that sort of teacher accountability, or if you have any suggestions for schools that want to do this, because I think to tell students, like, go through these pathways and you'll have like all these job opportunities, and then they get to 12th grade, and because Project Lead the Way hasn't been like put into place effectively, they haven't been learning what they were supposed to learn. Those opportunities actually aren't there. And then also thinking about the stakeholders at the other end, like funding all of this, and getting a workforce that's not quite there either. So I don't know if that's something that you all have seen or like you have any sort of advice on.
Absolutely, and we have several resources and tools to help schools. So we have, first of all, our professional development is available, and it's very intense. I know Jenny can tell you, but it's 2 weeks, and teachers always are tied to those master teachers as well, so they're there to help them. We have a team on the ground. As I mentioned, I lead a team that works in 12 states, so we're called the engagement team, and we're here to help any school with their implementation strategies and any coaching that we can help do. We have experts, as I mentioned, in the field. We have a 24/7 hotline, so it's called School Support. And really, if teachers or administrators have questions, they can call anytime, 24 hours a day, and we get them the answers they need. We do online training as well, so multiple ways that we try to, we can come in and help, because we definitely want it to be effective, and we want the teachers to feel good about the work that they're doing. And so we have a team to help. So we just need them to call and connect with us. We also have some national summits, so we'll have 4 this year. We have one in Kansas City and one in San Antonio. There's intense professional development during those summits. They also get to network with teachers that are teaching the same thing they're doing from across the country. They get to hear from a lot of our students. So we'll have elementary students through high school, and they'll be on our main stage, and they'll see the level of sophistication and what those students can do. So it's a great model for them. And then we also have teacher training going on during that piece. So you can credential in different parts of our training. So those are being really helpful. And we used to only have 1 national summit, and now we have 4. So we've tried to make them very regional so schools can get to them for the resource. So, but I feel like we have a lot of resources to help. So I'd love to know who those schools are and what they need. So we've just recently changed our training model. So we typically worked with universities in the past, and universities hosted our training on their campuses. And what we found was there wasn't consistency across the country in those training sites and what happened for teachers. So we've kind of taken that back under our wing. This is the first summer. We've done hubs where we host that training. But the other great thing is that we're really bringing in those local corporate partners, and teachers are getting a really good experience around what the whole career learning piece looks like for those pathways. So we're doing panels, we're doing training on industry sites. So in Kansas City, for instance, we have engineering training at Garmin. We have it at Burns & McDonnell, which is one of the largest engineering firms in Kansas City. Cerner's doing a lot of our computer science training on site. So the great thing about that, if you're a teacher going through our training, then you can do, they'll let you go down and do a stand-up with all of the Cerner software engineers and understand what a day in the life of looks like. So we're excited that we have that option for folks, but we have added some other pieces. So we have online training in most of the courses now. Some, especially we're finding young teachers love to learn online, and they are very self-motivated to do that. So we have an online course training and coaching throughout the year, so teachers can train that way. And then we also have what we're calling district transformation training, so we can actually bring the training to districts. So for instance, in Launch, you could train up to 24 teachers in one of our classes, and we could do it on site for you. So we've really tried to broaden the opportunities for training and make it more multifaceted and really deliver on what we need. So last slide, but really the whole piece I tried to convey this morning is just what are the incredible things that some of these students are accomplishing. Wanted to give an overview of the 3 pathways for folks who didn't know a lot about us, help you understand some of those pieces. So some of the great new things for this year going into this year. So one of our corporate partners, Chevron, has helped us translate both Launch and all of our Gateway courses into Spanish. So I know in a lot of my states, especially in the South, that we need Spanish versions of content. So we're excited that those will be just a part of the process and an option for teachers this fall. We also are on a sort of fast track project for Launch. We didn't start out trying to write Launch as a STEM curriculum or a science curriculum. It was really truly STEM. So we crosswalked it with our literacy skills, with mathematics skills, with science, and with technology skills, all embedded into the projects and problems of Launch. We really wanted to open up students' mind to STEM and problem-based learning. But many of our schools are using it for a science content piece. So by next fall, we will cover all of the NGSS standards through additional modules that will be released, and schools that are a part of our network will get all of those for free. So we're excited about that development. It's not a place where we had intended to go, but I think it will be a great resource for schools that are using it. We have a lot of schools using it as a science content and supplementing where they need, so we want to provide those resources for them. So, any other questions? All right, I think I have one of the best jobs in the world because every day I'm in schools, and the piece that I'm so amazed always is in my conversations with students and the things that they're thinking, the things that they're so creative and that they're doing. They're inspired to learn. I know often when we'd go in schools in the early days, and math and science teachers would be worried that it would pull students out of their advanced math and science courses, and we've seen just the opposite. once students understand that they can do this work, they might not love math, but they've got to do math to be an engineer, then we're seeing students take more advanced math and science classes. So it almost always happens simultaneously in that the enrollment in advanced math science goes up when a school actually embraces Project Lead the Way. But anyway, thank you for being here today. We do have a space in the STEM playground. If you have any questions or would love to talk about any of the pieces, we'll be there and our team would be happy to help. So thank you.